Step on up, sit down, twist off that bottle top or crack open that can, and welcome to Porch Matters. This is Terry Cagle coming to you from my back porch. Yes sir, yes ma'am, the name of this show is authentic. On Porch Matters, our saying is this: big issues or just a friendly conversation, no topic is off limits. We take pride in being able to talk about anything with each other in an open discussion. Open discussion is one of the only ways to learn. Your perspective could be changed. You could change the perspective of others. Welcome to episode 14 and Happy New Year to all of you. 2020 is gone forever. Some of you are saying thank God right now, I'm sure. I hope 2021 doesn't say hold my beer, but hey, it's going to be what we make it, right? So let's try to make it as good as we can, no matter what obstacles are thrown our way. I'd like to ask all of you listening to look and find the share button on whichever platform you are listening to us on, and please share the show with your friends and family on social media. Use the hashtag Porch Matters. Go through our past episodes and share your favorites. Please encourage others in your circle to subscribe and download the shows. I really would appreciate it. On this episode, Jason joins me on the porch. We discuss my eventful month of December. We also discuss joy versus happiness. What is joy? What is happiness? What is the difference between the two? And which one should we be going for in 2021? Without further ado, let's get started. Jason, how in the wide world of sports are you?
I'm great, man. How are you?
I'm doing all right, I guess. This month's been really, really interesting for me.
Well, do tell.
Do tell. Just me talking about the month of December for me is going to be a whole podcast in itself. The first week of December, I went on vacation to Gatlinburg. I think we've talked about it before. If not, everything went good. Went up there with Stacy and her family. Had a good trip. Came back, and I started going back to work, and I noticed that my back started hurting, kind of like it did earlier this year, right below my shoulder blade. Me being the doctor that I am, I got my medical degree by staying at a Holiday Inn Express. I don't know if you knew that or not.
Got most of your degrees.
Yeah, I know. I might not have went to school, but I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express. Yeah, that's me. I'm a member there. They got good beds. It's a great place to stay. Me and Stacy had a discussion, and I just told her that I just thought my back was out like it was earlier this year. And it was hurting me so bad that I was up all night. I couldn't get comfortable. Everything was just painful. To the point where I actually had to call in at work. I know some people are like, well, that ain't that big of a deal. Well, it is a big deal for me. I'm lead driver, and I don't call in. If I take off, I'll let them know a day or however far ahead of time I can. I don't just call and say I'm not showing up day of, because whenever you do that, you throw every single thing into limbo as far as the way everything's dispatched. It's like throwing a humongous monkey wrench inside of a big machine. It can be managed, but it don't go well. So for me to have to do that, it was big. The dispatcher heard the pain in my voice. He's like, dude, you don't sound good. You don't sound right. Something's wrong. I'm like, yeah, I know. But I ended up staying up all night out of sheer pain because I couldn't get comfortable enough to go to sleep. Went to the chiropractor. He told me it was a pinched nerve. Yeah, I know. He's looking at me with this look on his face, just wanting to bust out laughing. I know, but work with me. He told me it was a pinched nerve, so he did what he could to adjust me and went on about my business. I went to work Thursday, not in near as much pain as I was, but I was still hurt. I told Stacy, which is a registered nurse, and obviously...
Does everyone know who Stacy is?
Stacy, if you don't know by now, if you're just now listening to the show, Stacy is my girlfriend of 15 months. She is a registered nurse with almost 20 years experience. She's somewhere between 15 and 20 years experience in the field.
So she's your lover, Clarice.
technically, she knows more about this type of thing than I do.
You reckon
Because
so? How is that possible that being a nurse for 20 years would put her ahead of you, ahead of the curve in medical knowledge?
God is all knowing and I'm made in his image. Me being me and me being a man, we know everything and we're right even when we're wrong. At least I am.
I've been accused of that.
It was me thinking that I knew best, even though as absurd as that is, it is what it is. I was really, really hoping that it wasn't what she thought it was, and because she was the one that said gallbladder.
So you went to the chiropractor. He said he thought it was a pinched nerve. Stacy, who has 20 years experience in nursing, basically said she right off the bat, she said gallbladder. So you then did what?
I was really hoping that, like in most cases, I was right. He's giving me this funny. We're going to have to do video shows if you keep giving me those looks just so people can see what I'm talking about. Yeah, I ended up working Thursday, but something, like I said, it wasn't any better. So I ended up going and seeing the fine folks at Coleman Regional Hospital in the ER. It was right down the road from where I work. Fantastic people there. If you need anything done as far as hospitalization goes, I strongly recommend their ER. They're good people. They checked me out, did the CT scans, said it was my gallbladder, but they didn't admit me. They told me to call a particular surgeon and set something up next week. Could have been COVID related, might not have been. I don't know. They wrote me off work for 2 days. I was still hurting, so I went to arguably my favorite hospital. It's the hospital that my dad used to use all the time. It's the hospital that I went to whenever I tore ligaments in my ankle. It's my go-to place, and that would be the fine folks at St. Vincent's Hospital in Birmingham. I went over there Friday, went through the ER. They did more scans and checks on me. Was nice enough to give me morphine, and it was fantastic. If I'd had a microphone going to record stuff that was coming out of my mouth while I was on morphine, I guarantee you it would be our most downloaded episode because it was hilarious, even if it wasn't just hilarious, but to me. It was great. They also said it was my gallbladder. They said I had 3 gallstones, but they didn't admit me either. They gave me the number on paperwork to call their general surgeon, get everything set up. Rocks on Saturday, Sunday. I'm taking the antibiotics that's prescribed. I'm also taking the pain medication that they prescribed. Both ERs, same stuff. And I went to work Monday, but I also called that doctor that St. Vincent's told me to call. Well, I do my telephone visit with them in Chattanooga while I'm dropping and hooking trying to work. And for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, dropping and hooking is a truck driver phrase. It's not prostitution. It's whenever you drop one trailer and hook to another trailer. So
Okay.
I was dropping and hooking at the Volkswagen plant in Chattanooga.
I bet you were.
And I was doing my telephone visit with the doctor. I don't know what the deal is with telephone visits in 2020. Must be a COVID thing because they want to talk to you about everything on the phone, but they still want to charge you for an in-person visit through your insurance.
Oh, it's totally a COVID thing.
So he tells me, where are you? How fast can you get here? Well, I'm in Chattanooga. So it's 4 hours or so if you was to drive from Chattanooga straight to Birmingham. I can't remember. It's been a long time since I've done it. I had to go from Chattanooga back to Boaz. I had to drop that trailer. I had to bobtail back to bobtail is also a truck driving term. It's whenever you it's whenever you drive the truck without a trailer.
I've heard that term before in other circles.
This podcast is not only entertaining, but it's educational. If you don't get anything else out of this episode, you learned what dropping and hooking is and what bobtailing is.
So that's what they call it now.
Oh, yeah. bobtailed back to Coleman, got out of my truck, got in my pickup, and drove straight to Birmingham. Went in there, and they sent paperwork and everything through my email. I went to click on it. They wanted me to fill it out. I tried to fill it out, but for whatever reason, I couldn't do it. So I ended up going on. I had to call them outside the place to let them know I was there. They said, come on up. So I went up. Our little office visit was about 10 minutes. He said, based off of what I've seen, you've got a bad gallbladder. He mashed on me a little bit, about made me scream because he hit that sweet spot that was really hurting. And he said, yeah, we got to get that puppy out of there. Be here in the morning. Okay. So Tuesday morning, went in. I had to have a COVID test before they did anything. I think they mashed about 5 or 6 boogers into my brain. I have never had a Q-tip that long stuck that far up my nose. Some people might think it's pleasant. It's not. I can tell you that from personal experience. I've got a friend.
Have you ever had one stuck anywhere else?
In my ear.
Okay.
I seen where you were going with that.
Oh,
That Jedi mind trick only works on the weak-minded. Got through the COVID test. I couldn't smell anything for about 2 or 3 hours after they did that. Just that's straight up.
Yeah,
I smell nothing. Must be the Q-tip. I don't know. They did surgery. My gallbladder was rotten. Yeah, it was rotten. They were able to do it arthroscopically, thank God. They didn't have to cut on me, but he told me it was rotten, and it had 3 stones in it. From what I understand, he was worried he was going to have to cut on me, the old school way. If they'd have done that, I'd still be down. I'm technically not cleared for work yet. I've got to do another one of those telephone visits tomorrow as we record this. This is on Sunday. So I've got to do one of them. That way I can go back to work tomorrow night. Yeah, this month has been interesting, to say the least. It's the little things in life that you take for granted that you miss the most. Do you realize after you have gallbladder surgery, I don't know if you have or not, Jason. I since I freshly have, I got excited, I think way too excited, over taking a dump. He's giving me a confused look, folks. Whenever they work on you like that, it took me 4 days to actually be able to take a poop.
No, because I have experienced this when I was in the hospital for my fractured pelvis in 2010 after a car wreck. And I'm going to tell you, buddy, did you have to drink magnesium citrate?
No.
Oh, well, I had to because I took so much pain medication while I was in there. And when you have that, oh my God, yeah, that's like a religious experience.
Yeah, that there was a meme floating around a long time with a stick figure holding a trophy that said "I pooped today." Yeah. I really wanted to post that on social media just to be completely upfront and honest with you and everybody that's listening, because I got so stinking excited because I pooped.
Yeah, I can understand.
There is another positive to this. I'm feeling a whole lot better, but as also on this, I actually had to cut another hole into my belt because apparently I've lost some weight on still too.
Sure.
So
it's one way of doing it.
Yeah, but I think I'm all out of spare parts. I guess I could give up a kidney or a testicle or something like that, but I really like having all of those parts with me, and I really don't want to lose any more.
You might can get some money.
I could, but I'm not that broke. Well, I mean, I am, but I'm not that broke either,
I'll tell you what I'm curious about. Both my wife and daughter have both had their gallbladders removed at different times, and now I wonder, going back 100 years ago, I don't know, what did people used to do when their gallbladder? It's not an uncommon thing.
Suck it up and deal with it, I guess.
Well, if they had not taken out your gallbladder, what would have happened?
It would have got inflamed because those stones would have been blocking up ducts and everything, because the gallbladder We really need a medical expert like Stacy on here to be able to explain this a little bit more, but just layman's terms, the gallbladder helps the liver with digestion. It's something that's, you can live without it, but, it also helps to have it. And different stuff, whenever those stones get in there and they block up everything, it gets infected like mine was. And in all honesty, I had more pain out of that than I did my appendix. It was more painful than the appendix. It was more painful than the kidney stones that I've passed.
Have you had your appendix removed?
Yes, I had it removed in 2015.
Man, is there anything left of you?
Oh, yeah. There's a lot left of me.
Besides a beard?
There's a fat joke in here somewhere I'm feeling.
I'm working on it.
I know you are. You're trying. You're trying. I'm just happy to be on top of my game tonight, I guess.
Well, I was concerned about you. We were worried about you, buddy. I'm being honest here.
I was worried about myself. We had a conversation in between all of that, and I was in bad shape.
Yeah, you were.
I like to take pride in myself on having a pretty high threshold for pain. I can deal with pain, but I'm telling you, this was on another level.
You sounded really, it was obvious from the sound of your voice that you were in a lot of pain. I mean, it was just very obvious.
Yeah.
My biggest concern was that with of course, with what's going on and with so many people hospitalized with COVID, that you were going to run into a situation where they're like, we simply can't get to you in this state.
I was actually worried that was like what was happening with me because, I figured that I had enough going on that they would admit me and go ahead and yank that thing out. That's why I made 2 different ER visits.
Right.
I was wanting to hurry up and get it over with. I was tired of dealing with it. Luckily we got it done. And
thank God.
It's in the rear view mirror and we can go forward now.
Good deal.
What about you? How's your life?
Well, honestly, it's good. It's basically just kind of moving along as I normally do. I actually got a little bit of good news today. I started about 3 years ago trying to lose weight, and really hardcore 2 years ago. Well, no, I'd say 3. I was around 235 pounds, and the first year I wasn't able to stay real committed to exercise, but I did a lot of intermittent fasting, anywhere from 12 to 18 hours on certain days. As I said, I was around 235 pounds, and for me, that's big. And I decided it was time to lose, so I started with intermittent fasting. I didn't apply a lot of discipline to my diet or to an exercise program per se. I did exercise some, but not a lot. But I did do the fasting, and it helped. I lost probably 15 pounds from that and just moderate exercising that really wasn't consistent like it needed to be. I've been working at it for the past 2 years, and I've improved my diet considerably. I've cut way back on my sugar and alcohol intake, on fried foods. I don't do as much fasting as I used to, but my exercise routine has gotten much more consistent. I do 20 minutes. And to me, if you're going longer than 20 or 30 minutes, you're wasting time somewhere. If you're really doing it intense and hitting it, you can get it done in 20 to 30 minutes.
I agree.
And okay, thank you. I weighed today, and I'm down to 203, which was what I weighed at 20. I'm 45, be 46 at the end of January, and I weighed 203 when I was 23 years old.
Congratulations, brother.
Yeah, so I'm proud of that. And I feel a lot better, bro. I feel a whole lot better. And I bought a device this last week. You've probably seen the advertisements. The Teeter company, it was the first to produce it. It's called theirs is called the Teeter Hang Up. This one is just an inversion table.
I've had one.
Oh, really? What'd you think?
They are amazing.
Oh, they are. I use mine every day.
Yeah. dad had back issues. He had L4 and L5 that was bulged.
Mm-hmm.
We got one through the chiropractor. I always thought they were amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you go total vertical, it does put a lot of pressure on your ankles. But
You feel like, or were you ever afraid? I'm about to slip through here, like go straight on my top of my head.
Not really. It felt more like, wasn't that I felt like my foot was gonna pull through it. I felt like my leg was gonna rip.
Well, that's a lot of pressure on not only on the joints but on those bones and on the muscles and
Right.
tendons in.
Right.
It's been very good. It hasn't been as beneficial for my neck, but my back, it's been really good for my back.
Going to go ahead and warn you on this. If you have any muscle issues, I do not recommend it.
As in muscle issues, as in
a pulled muscle.
Okay.
If you hurt your back, if your back's hurting, whatever, and it's like a muscle issue, don't get on that thing. I made that mistake one time whenever I was working at Walmart. I used to pride myself on being able to pick up very heavy objects whenever I was younger, and some of those older cats came up and said, I know you're not going to listen to me, because I didn't listen to them, but I'm telling you, you need to slow down. Just because you can, don't mean you should. Well, I didn't listen to them either. I used to have a job whenever I stacked chain link fence on the back of flatbeds. I'd stack anything that weighed from 45 pounds up to 800 pounds by hand. And I took a lot of pride in that. But I went to work at Walmart unloading those trailers, and I actually hurt my back by picking up a box of soap.
Well, sometimes it's just all the right ingredients are there.
Right. We had an hour for lunch, and I only lived like 5 or 10 minutes away. So I came home trying to work out the kinks, and I got on that inversion table. That's why I'm telling you, just be careful. I didn't go total vertical. I just went the length of the little nylon cord and everything that's down there at the bottom. I'm sure you've seen it.
Yep.
Because they only want you to go to a certain degree. They don't tell you to go total vertical. When I sat on it for about 5-10 minutes, it took a lot of the pressure off. But whenever I came back up, all the pressure came back, all the weight came back, and I screamed bloody murder. It's very painful. I do not recommend it.
I appreciate you letting me know. I hadn't thought about that. One concern that I do have is I've had high blood pressure since I was a teenager.
Right.
And they do caution people with high blood pressure because so much of the blood rushes to your head that it can cause a stroke if you don't have your blood pressure under control.
Yeah.
And so that's a little bit of a concern.
A droopy side is not a good look. I don't want you to have a stroke.
I think if some people might look at my face and say both sides are already droopy.
Gravity does affect us all.
Age is not kind.
No, it's not. And sadly, we're in that age range now where we have to worry about things like that.
Yes, we do.
But it is what it is. Good luck with your inversion tape, because, I know I'm not trying to break any HIPAA violations or anything with your medical history, but I do know it, a little bit of it, and good luck. You need all the help that you can get. I mean that in the most positive way that I can.
I know you do.
Yeah, he won't let me pop his back anymore. So
no. Well, no, you picked me up off the ground by my head a few times.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting.
I've held you in my arms for a poster too, as well. And I'm still waiting on the copy of that picture, by the way.
I was going through some old stuff today. Eventually I will find it.
Okay. Well, tonight, folks, we are wanting to talk about an article that I came across, and I thought it was really interesting. It's an article from lifehack.org, and a nice, wonderful lady by the name of Akina, and I can't pronounce that last name, but it will be posted on the social media whenever you hear this episode come out. It's entitled Joy versus Happiness. What's the difference, and how can you achieve both? I presented it, and we all thought that it was a great topic, because It's a little bit of a deep dive, but there's a really fundamentally different meaning for both of those words. And she talks about it in the article as well. If you look up the meaning for the word joy, it's the emotion evoked by well-being, success, or good fortune, or by the prospect of possessing what one desires. Happiness is a state of well-being and contentment, a pleasurable or satisfying experience. And she kindly goes in depth about how there is a difference between both. We just really wanted to shed some light on this article because we thought it was a real good article. We're coming up on New Year's. This episode is going to air right here around that. And there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be doing all of those nice, wonderful New Year's resolutions, Jason. Hopefully, by the time we get done with this, you'll be wanting to add at least one more resolution into your listing about how to try and find joy in your life. And Jason, let's just jump right into it, my friend. What do you think about joy and happiness? Do you believe that there is a difference between both of those words? How do you feel that affects everyday life?
I'll go back to kind of your exposition on the article. And I would tend to agree with what you said, that happiness is more of a state of well-being. I guess to try to make it a little bit more easy to understand, it's the mode you're in. Are you happy? Are you a happy person? Are you satisfied? Are you content with your life? As opposed to being unhappy or depressed or angry or dissatisfied. First and foremost, I think happiness, it's like the groundwork. You got to lay the groundwork. Joy, on the other hand, I kind of have mixed feelings on that because I believe that joy can be attained, but I think you have to be careful with that as far as in seeking joy, if that makes any sense. It probably doesn't make any sense yet. My beliefs or my feelings as far as joy goes, I believe happiness is absolutely important. I really do. Joy, on the other hand, I believe I don't feel as firmly about joy. The reason I say that is because I believe joy can be relative. I believe some people take joy in bad things. I think some people take joy in good things. I believe joy is sometimes just an emotional shot in the arm. Joy can be related to the attainment of goals, which is a positive thing, or it could be into the prospect of future attainment of goals, which is both good and bad, according to the way I look at things. One, I think you have to figure out whether or not you're happy. Most people know whether or not they're happy. And if you're not happy, try to figure out, well, what do I need to be happy? And then joy, I believe that that's something that is so relative and subjective that it's hard to give advice to people on how to find joy. Does that make any sense?
It makes sense. Ironically, I'm right the opposite.
Okay.
I believe happiness it's kind of like I haven't had a Dr. Pepper since February of last year. Drinking a Dr. Pepper right now, cracking the top, hearing the fizz, and letting that sweet nectar of the gods run down my throat and hit all of those nerves and all of those taste buds would make me very happy right now. However, it would take away the joy that I have from trying to live a healthy life for the most part and keep my A1C down so that the doctor don't go crazy when next time I go and have my A1C checked. Happiness is, I live here in the Bible Belt as you do. I was raised in church, and like you were, joy is a huge thing in the Christian faith. And I'm not trying to necessarily preach to anybody today, but that's my views. It's part of who I am. You know, happiness is great and wonderful, but at the end of the day, you're shooting for joy. You know, the Bible talks about how the joy of the Lord is our strength. There's one particular example in the Bible. There's a whole book on it. the story of Job. If you did any reading or any research or anything into it, his story is he pretty much had everything. He also had a very close relationship with the Lord. The story goes that the devil had a conversation with the Lord, said that I can do this, that, and the other. And the Lord, you can't hurt Job, this, that, and the other. Make a very long story short, that book is several chapters long. Job lost everything. Lost all of his property, lost his family, he lost all of his livestock, lost everything. And whenever you read in the book, he does whine and cry about it. He's also stricken with some kind of illness as well. In the story, the devil literally threw everything, and including the kitchen sink at the boy, trying to break his faith with the Lord, to try and take away his joy. He was depressed, but he still had a firm view on the end of it, because he knew that the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Make a very long story short, the Lord not only restored what he had, but he gave him double for his trouble. To read just a little bit of like a Bible study type thing that I found, it says there's a big difference between joy and happiness. Happiness is a reaction to something great. Whenever somebody, your favorite team, wins that big ball game, you feel happy. Joy is the product of something great, meaning like you were talking about a few minutes ago with your weight loss. You put in the work and you start to see the fruits of your labor. That's that joy that it's talking about. As far as Christians go, they find joy in their relationship with the Lord. They know that the Lord is their strength. They're not looking at the trees. They're trying to see the forest. They know the end result. That's the joy that they're talking about. Our little devotional goes on. It says, let us never forget the difference, nor fail to enjoy both happiness and joy fully on the earth. It's okay to experience both. Happiness is the starting point of it, but joy is the end result. A lot of people go through life. We're prime examples of it. Life's not easy. Life is life. Life is ups and it's downs, the hills and valleys. And, I'm not really trying to get philosophical on this episode, but in a way, I feel like I need to. Happiness, while we're up here on top of the mountain in life, when everything's going great and everything is great and wonderful. But then as soon as we go on a downhill slope, we end up all, woe is me. Why is this happening to me? Everything like that. We play the victim card. Happens to the best of us. We've got to live. Mm-hmm. We've got to play the hand that is dealt to us. In my Christian walk, I'm a firm believer that life throws us curveballs. Life gives us unexpected outcomes that we wasn't looking for, and we've got to roll with the punches. As long as I know where my heart is, I know that my Lord and Savior loves me and he died on the cross for me, and at the end result, I win. It's a whole lot easier to find the joy inside. As the Bible says, the joy of the Lord is your strength. You're able to pull yourself up. You're able to get through any kind of circumstance. Why? Because the Lord is in control. He's all knowing. He's all loving. That's my view on it. I don't know if everybody here is going to agree with it. If you don't, that's fine. I'm a very firm believer in that. I'm also a very firm believer in positive thinking. Wake up in the morning being grateful that I was able to wake up. I mentioned earlier, we're getting older. We didn't used to think about this 20, 30 years ago whenever we were younger. Now we do. I do. I'm thankful for that next day of life. I'm thankful to be able to breathe. I'm thankful to be able to go hug my mother one more time. I'm thankful for Stacy. I'm thankful for my grandmother. I'm thankful for Xander. All of those things that I just mentioned, God forbid, can go away just like that. I try to live my life now with more gratitude. I've been going down this path for several years now, even right before I left the sheriff's department the last time. I had a plan. I wrote down some goals that I had. Number one was Go back to the sheriff's department whenever I left District 4. That one happened. Next one was to go and get my CDLs. Did that. Went and found a job. Did that one. I'm still working on the rest of them, but the other ones are, and I'll be open and honest. The other ones was get out of debt. Still working on that. Yeah. Next ones was to go buy property, then pay it off, and then design and build my own house. Those are very achievable, and I wrote them down. I've still got them in my phone. I look at them every once in a while. I just started waking up, and instead of saying, oh, God, I got to go do this or I got to go do that, I just started saying, you know what? Today is going to be a good day, and just started trying to repeat it. And I just started feeling a whole lot better. You remember me back several years ago. I was a moody grouch.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still somewhat moody, and I'm still somewhat of a grouch. But I'm not near as much a moody grouch as what I used to be. There again, still working on it. But I started noticing things just started falling in place. And I don't know. I feel like to a degree that whole law of attraction thing works. You are what you attract. It has helped bring out the joy in me. And I feel like I'm a walking, breathing, talking example that joy comes from the inside. Even if you're not a Christian, that's your business. Again, not trying to preach to anybody. I feel like joy is something that if you don't have it, you really need it. Because if you don't have it, you're existing instead of living. Does that make any sense?
If you don't mind, you've unpacked a lot of things there.
Go for it.
And a lot of what you have said has, in different ways, reminded me of some of the readings from different philosophers and thinkers unrelated to Christianity. But, a lot of times you can find some of the same precepts.
Absolutely.
If you'll allow me, I'll see, just for example, what you just said about how you began to say to yourself, that today is going to be a good day. And there were positive affirmations. Right now, Alan Lipton is a lecturer who is kind of pushing the idea that, and I don't know if this is how much of the science he has right about that, but the subconscious mind represents, in his opinion, about 97% of who we are and what we do. And then the rest is the conscious mind, just basically operating off of that. And that if you will tell yourself, repeat to yourself, I'm grateful, I am grateful, I am grateful, then that is sinking into your subconscious mind till all of a sudden, you are. Just like negative statements and hearing negative things over time can literally destroy and defeat a person.
Agree wholeheartedly.
And we've talked about these kind of things. You had mentioned how the idea that you were just grateful that you were waking up another day and experiencing another day of life. It made me think of some of the Stoic philosophers who used to say how wonderful and how great and beautiful it is to wake up another day and breathe air.
Mm-hmm.
How many would give anything to have another chance just to breathe air? And I had this opportunity today. And you talked a little bit about the search for happiness and meaning. And it makes me think of Jordan Peterson, psychologist and lecturer. And he would say that searching for happiness or a happy life is not what you need to be searching for at all. You need to be searching for purpose and meaning. And in that, you will find happiness and eventually joy. But don't pursue happiness because that can be fraught with all kinds of things that are not going to give you long-term happiness or joy.
Right.
Search for a meaning to your life and something that you can do to be of service to the world.
Right.
Something you can do, something positive. So you really gave me a lot to chew on there and to think about. Now, like you said, I'm a Christian as well. I try to consider some of these other philosophies as you do. I'm reminded a little bit in this discussion of some of the teachings of Alan Watts, who was a British philosopher, mainly of Taoism and Confucianism and Buddhism, and he's been dead for some years. But one thing that he talked about when it came to happiness and joy was that one of the reasons that we are anxious or experience anxiety is because we do not live in the present. We are not mindful of the moment that we're existing. The only thing we have for sure, that we know for sure of, is that we're here right now. And he said, oftentimes people want to live in the future. And the future, it's just a concept. There's nothing for certain. And there's no such thing as security or safety because we live in a universe that's in flux. The only thing that's for sure is nothing is for sure.
Right.
Other than, of course, I'm not talking about faith or anything like that. I'm just talking about the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune that everyone experiences. As it says in the Bible, it rains on the just and the unjust.
Amen.
In some of his teachings, he would say that when you try to live in the future and find the joy in your plans for the future, then you're missing that joy in the moment that you're living right now. He even goes further in saying that, we try to find happiness and security and safety when there's none to be found. He said it's to the point to where we just become a society of breath holders. Everyone's holding their breath because they're so afraid and they're so craving security and something to be sure of, a job that they know is going to be there for 30 years, a pension is, everyone living and being happy forever. And that's not reality. That's not how the world works. We end up shattered.
Yep.
So I apologize. I think I've gone all the way around the maypole.
No, not really. What you were just talking about there, I believe there's a fine line because there for the longest, I was planning on the future so much that I wasn't living in my present.
I've been terrible about that. I've been terrible about that, brother.
Yeah. And ironically, I don't know if she knows this or not, but after she hears this, she probably will. That was one of the conversations of many that me and Melissa had, or me and some other friends had. And I was very guilty for a while. I was so focused on my whole, as I hold up Dr. Evil quotation marks, my plan, that I couldn't see things that were right in front of me that could be very beneficial to me if I wanted them. Full-blown honesty here. I was skittish about getting serious with Stacy because I was so scared that I would get attached and it would be an anchor for me. Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense.
Because there for the longest, I had I had big plans, buddy. I wanted that property to be out of state. I wanted to get out of Alabama. And I was scared to death that I'd fall in love and never move.
Yeah, I understand.
Luckily, with the help of some friends and a wonderful lady, I was able to say, well, why not? It was a very easy process because if you've met her, as you have, she's a pretty wonderful woman.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope you take that as a compliment and as the truth, because that's what it is, because I know you're listening. I love you. It is what it is. I was so focused on the future, I couldn't live in the present. At the same time, what you're saying is there's also that other side that's equally as dangerous. You can live in the moment so much and not prep for the future that it hurts you in the future as well.
Absolutely. You can, with no consideration whatsoever for the future, then, you can doom yourself.
Yeah. There's two examples that I can think of right off the top of my head. Joe Namath and Ric Flair. You heard both of them talk about how if I thought I was going to live this long, I'd have took better care of myself.
Mm-hmm.
Mickey Mantle said the same thing. You know, his dad died at a young age, and he just automatically thought that he was just going to pass away in his, I think it was his 40s.
Yeah.
He was a legendary partier. And I'm not knocking partying. On this show, we try to find middle ground on everything because I believe that there's a middle ground in just about everything. There's extremes to everything.
Mm-hmm.
And just like I talked about how I try to wake up every morning grateful for what I have, there at the same time during that process that I'm still learning. Life you learn. The day you quit learning is the day that you die. And even then you're learning something. You're learning, is there really a heaven? Is there really a hell? Or do you really just go to sleep? But as I was saying, I was guilty. I was so guilty of focusing on my plan that I wasn't living. And I believe that there is a very large difference between living and just existing. And that was the whole thing about starting my little plan. I've said this before. About this time of year, I get reflective. I start looking at my life and come up with this whole, I used to call it the state of Terry. I said this in a previous episode. I'm going to repeat it because it fits. And if I'm too talkative, I apologize. I'm not normally this talkative on this show, but tonight you're getting a big dose of Terry. But I would go through about this time of year around my birthday. Jason has seen this in person because we work together. From the months of November, December, and January, I would walk around gloomy and very depressed. And we would have conversations about that. It would always go, I'm fill in the blank years old. What have I got to show for it? I got sick of that. I wasn't happy. The joy that I had wasn't too strong, but that was my fault. It was my fault. And I got sick of it. And I said, I'm getting too old for this. It's now or never. Let's come up with a plan and let's stick to it. I'm trying my best to stick to my plan. Has it changed? Yes, it has. Has it changed for the better? Yes, it has. Thank you, Stacy. But there's still a plan there. One of these days, hopefully sooner than later, and God willing, you're going to see video evidence of me recording Porch Matters from my brand new, freshly built house with a fantastic view in the backyard. And hopefully Jason can be up there with me next to the fireplace because I'm telling you, I'm working on it. But at the same time, future plans are great. It's good to have, but don't miss out on the joy of living in the present as well. Looking around, see what you got in front of you. Don't matter what your situation or your circumstance is. You can find a positive in anything. Mm-hmm. You just got to look for it. Mm-hmm. I'm in a Zoom conversation right now with a very good positive in my life. That would be Jason Akins. I've got listeners right here that are listening to this that are positives in my life. I've got warm air in my lungs. I'm not in no back. I don't have any gallbladder pain right now. I've got a smile on my face. I've got the love of a good woman and her son and her family. Still got my family. We've had family gatherings. I love every one of them. Life is good. Life is good. And life can be good even in bad situations. Why? Because at the end of the day, no matter how bad you got it or that you think you got it, I guarantee you, you can look around and find somebody that might be doing a lot worse than you.
I'll go along with you on that. Go back and quote the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius. He experienced one of the worst outbreaks of disease and plague in human history during his reign. War, deprivation, you name it. And the plague ended up eventually claiming his life.
Right.
But he would say, of all of those different trials and tribulations, he would say, I'm not sad or upset that it happened to me. I'm thankful that these things befell me because thank God it was me because I could bear it. Right. Someone else may not have been able to bear it. And what all I've learned from it.
Right.
You know, so I agree with you. You can find the positive in a lot of things if you're looking. If you're looking, you know, and that's even biblical. Mm-hmm. You hear from some of the great writers in the Bible, you know, I'm thankful even for the trials, even for the tribulations, because being put through the fire to be refined and made better. You talked about plans. Plans can change and they can go wrong. But if you've got the right attitude and you're looking, you can find where, well, I'm glad I found out that that's not what I need to do. I'll do this.
Right. This show is going to air right around New Year's. If not New Year's, I'd have to look at the calendar to see. Everybody's going to be doing the whole New Year's resolutions. If you decide to do that, I'm going to challenge you right now. Don't come up with no crazy cockamamie stuff. Actually sit down, put some thought into it. There's been a general theme lately on these episodes where we're talking about, or at least I have been talking about, take a look at yourself in the mirror. Be able to do a little self-reflection. Do you like the reflection that you see? If you don't remember what I'm talking about, please go back and check our past episodes. There is a theme here, okay? Take a good look at yourself before you start writing down these New Year's resolutions. Remember that there, in my opinion anyway, if you don't think that, that's fine. But I think there is a difference between happiness and joy. Figure out what it's going to take to make you joyful. I'm not going to say happy. I'm going to say joyful. Figure out what it's going to take for you to be joyful. Whether it's changing jobs, whether it's going back to school, whether it's starting to put money back for this, that, and the other. Whatever you figure out for yourself what it's going to take to make you joyful and write it down. Stay focused on it. But at the same time, don't forget to live in the present. Sometimes your plan can change or tweak it a little bit. That's okay. Have a plan, but don't be afraid to tweak it a little bit. But figure out what it's going to take for you to be joyful and go for it. Wake up every morning being thankful for being able to wake up. Tell yourself that it's going to be a good day today. And I'll guarantee you, not only are you going to feel better, but you're going to notice other people around you feel better as well. Try me. Please try me. I guarantee you I'm right. I'm right even when I'm wrong. We talked about that earlier. But I'm right on this. Guarantee it. It's Fat Boy approved. What do you think, Jason? I've got plans for this show. This show is going to be doing its own little New Year's resolutions. I might share them later on, but we're definitely going to share them with one another. Okay. I've got a vision for this thing. You'll hopefully, if everything goes according to plan, if it don't, so be it. But this 2021, you're hopefully going to be able to see some of the fruits of the labor for the plan. I'll say it that way. 2020 is coming to an end. Thank God. It's been rough. It's been different. It's been exciting in some areas for some people. It's been depressing in other areas. It's been a year. It's been a year that a lot of us ain't never going to forget. A lot of people are hoping and praying 2021's a whole lot better, myself included. One other thing that you were talking about a little bit earlier, and that just popped back in my head, so bear with me. I'm going to chase this rabbit really quickly. You were talking about circumstances and everything like that. A lot of people might complain about their job or whatever. God knows I'm guilty. I've griped about my jobs a lot, but I seen a meme several years ago, and it just popped back into my head, so bear with me. A lot of the stuff that we complain about these days is stuff that we have prayed to come about, if you'll think about it. That hits home, and that's true. Right now, I'm living the dream that I prayed for. So even if I'm complaining about it, I need to be thankful for it because I've gotten what I've asked for.
That is true.
Like I said, several years ago, I was going to get my CDLs. Lord opened up a door. I got a job. I'm very thankful for that job. Have I complained about it? You bet your sweet butt I have. But at the same time, I'm still thankful for it. Also keep that nugget in your head too. Jason, I'm rambling incoherently possibly. I don't know if everybody's following me, and I'm sorry that y'all have gotten an extreme dose of Terry tonight, but this is something that I'm passionate about. It is something that I feel very strongly about. I'm going to give you the floor, my friend. Any closing remarks?
No, I think everybody needed a good dose of Terry. They get enough of Jason and Melissa. I think they needed a good dose of Terry. I don't have anything else to add. I believe we've covered it pretty well. I would recommend to people, try to live in the present and enjoy the beauty of the moment that you are actually here, and seek joy in the future. I would encourage you, like Terry said, to look to this next year and sit down and say, okay, what are 25 goals that I can shoot for this year that would really bring me joy and are the direction I believe I need to go in? And after you write down those 25, mark out every one of them except the 5 most important, and then put 70 to 80% of your time, if not more, into those 5 things. And I think at the end of the year, by doing that, you'll be surprised where you end up. Just if you can improve yourself in your life 1% per day for 365 days, just think of where you can be. That's all I got, brother. I think you covered everything else pretty dang good.
I don't know, as much talking as I've done tonight, I feel like I need to pass an offering plate. I hope I didn't preach too much. One thing before we close out, and I know y'all can't see this, but Jason is getting a full view of me. I'm not normally this lit up, but
you might want to qualify that a little bit when you say a full view of you.
Okay. I am fully clothed. I am, just for the record, I would not get on the Zoom meeting half covered by any chance. But what I was going with on this is my wonderful girlfriend Stacy got me a little light to light up my face, because normally on these Zoom calls out here on this porch, I've got a very large head on top of my shoulders. That is a fat joke. I know it is. I've always had a big head. It is what it is. It ain't going to change. But there is a light that's right behind my head that my head blocks. It's like a good lunar eclipse whenever it blocks the sun. You can only see from the outside, but there's a nice shadow right here where my face is on this screen. Now, because Stacy was so kind and thought enough of me, she got me a birthday present, and I've got a light right in front of me now, and Jason's able to see my nice, beautiful, sexy face.
I see you very well.
So thank you, Stacy, for giving me something to torture Jason with, if nothing else. I appreciate you, and I love you, honey.
Nothing like seeing that noggin, man.
I know, right? Ain't it pretty?
If you say so. If you say so.
We appreciate you. We hope that you've had a fantastic holiday season. We hope that New Year's comes out great. Don't drink and drive. Let's get some goals wrote down. Let's get some positive thoughts going, and let's make 2021 the best that we possibly can. We thank you for sticking with us. We thank you for listening to us. I can't emphasize enough how much I appreciate that. And at the same time, please share the links on social media. Please continue to spread the word on this show. Let's get some more people listening to it, and let's get them on board, because I think we got big and better things coming ahead in the future.
Sounds good to me, brother.
That's all the time we have for this episode. Please like the page and join the group on Facebook at Porch Matters Podcast. Please subscribe or follow us on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, or the platform of your choice so you don't miss an episode. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcast, please rate the show and leave us a review if you have the time. Thank you very much for listening, and catch us next time right here on Porch Matters.